What's up, guys? Welcome to your 56th Android tutorial for the new Boston. What we're going to do in this tutorial is basically set up a class that's going to handle all of our preferences, and then we can set it to open when we use our little menu inflator for the most part. Before we get into this, again, I just kind of want to talk about what the preferences are. As you guys can see, we set up this list preference. You guys don't know really what that is yet because we haven't run it on our emulator. But basically, it's going to create a list with like 4 radio buttons because we set up 4 options within our array XML. And so it's going to give us 4 options. And depending on those options, we want it to have a value of some sort. So that's why we set up a second array that holds the value. And so basically, we can refer to this within whatever class we want. For example, if we wanted a text to have a certain size according to the preferences, we could have this array, like if the first option was selected, it's going to have the value of 1. The second option is going to have a value of 2, and 3 and 4, etc. like that. And then we can refer to that value, and if it has the value of 3, we can set the text to like 20 dp. If it has a value of 4, 25 dp, etc. So basically this is, again, going to save all of our data for the most part. But basically, I didn't know if you guys got confused with the entries and the entry values. So basically, this is what they're going to see. Once they select one of those options, it's going to give us the value for that option for the most part. But let's create our class that's going to be our preferences. So we're going to right click on our folder, go to new class, and we're going to call this prefs for preferences, and there we go. Now this is going to be a little different. If you guys remember right at the beginning where I probably confused the crap out of you, we extended, the other list activity for the most part. But this time, what we have been doing is extending activity. But for the preferences, we want to extend something else. So this might be kind of confusing because this is only the second time we've done it, and besides the first time when we set up that list activity. So we're going to extend something called preference activity because we're working with preferences. And we're going to still have all the access to our activity class. So we're going to right click, or I'm sorry, just hover over that and import it. And there we go. We have our preferences class set up for the most part. And anytime we have an activity, we want to have an onCreate method. So we're going to right click, source, override, implement methods. And as you can see, there is all of our choices. Again, we can say onCreate bundle, which is what we want. And instead of saying set content view, we're basically going to set up our preference from the resource. Basically, didn't really make sense, but that's what the method's called. So it's going to access where we set up our preferences tab. So we're just going to say add preference, and this again is a method, so you guys have to use this method. Add preferences from resource, and then we're going to access where we set up our preferences, which was r.xml.prefs. So there we go. We basically set up our preferences, and now all we have to do is basically open this activity. So what we're going to do is go back into our menu class where we set up our menu inflator and our menu options. We have this one if the preferences was clicked. I'm also going to copy this real quickly, paste it, since I added that other resource, that other item, I'm sorry, which was called exit. So there we go, Control-Shift format. And now what we're going to do is set up a new intent that's going to open our preferences. And also our exit, which is going to just finish application, because at this time only the menu class will be running for the most part, since our splash activity finished, and every time we hit back, those activities finish as well. So we want to have an option for them just to close our application, so we're just going to say finish there. And then we just need to set up our intent. So we're going to say intent actually I'm just going to copy and paste this. Nothing too new for the most part. Again, we're going to call this one prefs right here, all uppercase. and then all we have to do is set up our preference activity within our Java, or within our Android manifest. Also, we need to change this to like something like P, we'll say, for preferences. It's because we were getting a duplicate entry within the same method. So then what we have to do again is just set up our preference activity that we set up, or that we created for the most part. So I'm going to copy one of those default ones and change it to prefs. Again, that's the action name that we referred to right there in our menu Java. And then we just need to change this to our class name, which was also prefs, like that. So there we go. Basically, we have our preferences set up. We're going to run the application, make sure it works, and I'll show you guys how we can use those preferences, because right now we can select them, it'll save, but they aren't doing anything. So we can access those preferences within a class of some sort, or within an activity. So that's what I'm going to show you guys probably in the next tutorial, because you know, the splash activity, the sound on it is driving me insane. So I'm going to show you guys how to mute that for the most part. And then we hit our menu, hit preferences, and as you can see, we have our default value of the checkbox as checked. Let's uncheck that just to make sure activity works. We're going to type in a name, Travis, and as you guys excuse me, as you guys can see, this is our title, and I'm just going to hit OK. And as you can see, it's our title, and then we also have the summary right here. So that's what we were setting up, and then here's our list preference that we set up, option 1, 2, 3, or 4. We're going to hit 3, and then as we check it down, you can see 3 is selected. Let's go back, hit our menu, hit exit, which will exit out of our program. Let's open it back up and see if those preferences saved. So go back to preferences, edit text, has Travis saved within our application. The checkbox is unchecked, and also option 3 is selected even after we exit our application. So that's the benefit of preferences for the most part, and I'll show you guys how to actually access those preferences so they do something for our application in the next tutorial. So I'll see you guys then. Have a good one.